Welcome to the Loud Lens podcast, the photography podcast where we say the uncomfortable stuff out loud because honestly, someone needs to. And this is a specially requested episode. You don't own the street. That's essentially it's going to annoy people. I know. So sit back, relax, and watch me rant and rave into this microphone so you can be like, oh, Khandie, she's on one today. Okay. Some people are going to be annoyed at me. We are talking about photographers losing their mind over members of the public, in inverted commas, ruining their shots. You've seen the video. In fact, when this episode was requested, I got sent 9 videos. So one of them had someone walking through the background, a cyclist riding through, a tourist stopping at a nice spot from him, a kid pointing at the camera, and then someone accidentally stepping to frame when someone was being proposed to. And suddenly, like, I'll be honest, the photographer has made the content to act like some serious crime has occurred. It's awful. The world is ending. Dramatic TikTok music, dramatic passive aggressive captions, dramatic. These people have no respect anymore. Comments going off. But the truth is, you don't own that public space. And I think somewhere along the line, parts of the photography culture has completely forgotten that. Now, before people start frothing at the mouth and going, Khandie, you're horrible, you're horrible. No, I'm not saying it's okay to deliberately ruin someone's shot. Okay. No, I'm not saying photographers deserve harassment. And no, I'm not saying clients should have to deal with idiots trying to be funny for social media. But what I am saying is that social media has completely changed the relationship between photographers and the general public because photography shoots are no longer just shoots anymore. They are productions, performances, content, behind the scenes reels, the watch me at work videos, the clout opportunity, and the second you turn a public photo shoot into entertainment, people start interacting with it. That's reality. So I'm going to talk about, hopefully today in this episode, so because it was specially requested, photographers publicly shaming strangers, rage bait culture, people deliberately interrupting shoots, influencer behavior, why public hostility towards photographers is growing, and the uncomfortable fact that some photographers genuinely act like they temporarily own the pavement because this conversation needs balance and not just some nonsense. So let's get into it. I will say it was special request. I'm going to say this again. I really enjoyed this one. I know I've been about a rant about photographers' behavior, but when I say photographers, I'm not just blaming photographers, videographers, content creators, influencers, all that. It kind of jumbles into one, and we have a growing problem. And you might say, oh, it's not that deep. It is. We're seeing it being called out more and more. I think the first thing we need to acknowledge, though, is that photography culture has changed massively. Years ago, as a local photographer, the shoot was pretty much self contained. You turn up, you shoot, you left. You might have an assistant, maybe a reflector and a light. But now, some shoots genuinely look like some Netflix production has accidentally landed in the middle of the town, right? You've got soft boxes, you've got multiple light stands, assistants, rolling cases, behind the scenes videographers, phones filming content, drones possibly live streaming, reels being shot, and another person filming the photographer, photographing the model. And this is the bit people don't want to hear because I know it's really weird. That changes exactly how much space you're occupying massively. There's a difference between a photographer taking portraits and a photographer, a model assistant, a tripod, a videographer, a camera operator filming the photographer, and bags spread across half the pavement. They are not the same thing. And I think some photographers genuinely, and I don't think they do it deliberately sometimes, underestimate just how intrusive these large public shoots can feel to everyone else around them, especially now that social media has normalized filming absolutely everything and anything. Because remember, the public didn't consent to being a background extra in your content. And I think that matters. Yes, they're in public, but they didn't ask to be projected onto a platform where thousands of people can see them. Now, I do think there's also been a rise in photography rage bait, and I think this is where things get a bit messy. Some of those interruption videos, they are real, they've happened, but some of them are rage bait 100%. The one I got sent was quite clearly rage bait. But once you notice it, you can't unsee it. And it's because social media has made people realize something. Anger performs incredibly well on social media, especially in a niche content like photography. People love outrage videos. This person ruined my engagement session. People are so disrespectful. Photographer can't work anymore. Watch this idiot walk into my frame and ruin the shot. It's not like we're shooting on film for a start. We're on digital, right? And I'm going to get onto the engagement thing a little bit later on to get to you. But suddenly the internet like piles on some random stranger who probably didn't even notice they were walking on the background for like half a second. Meanwhile, the creator gets views, engagement, followers, sympathy, and comments boosting your algorithm and possibly a lot of money because they're on a monetized platform. And the worst bit is now some of these creators deliberately and intentionally build content around that conflict to get the ratings. You can see them waiting for confrontation. The camera's already rolling, the BTS angle is perfectly positioned, and the caption is pre-written before that interaction even happens, because the interruption is the content, not the imagery, not their photography, just that interruption. And honestly, I think that's dangerous because it encourages photographers to see the public as enemies instead of people just simply existing in public alongside them. But yeah, there are people who are actually doing this on purpose. Equally, because this episode needs balance, we need to acknowledge that the other side. There are people who will go out of their way to deliberately interrupt a shoot. Absolutely. And social media has definitely helped create them too. Oh, I'm going to walk into the influencer's video because I think it's funny. I'm going to annoy them because then they'll post me online and I'll post online and then we'll have this big rage. I hate influencer culture. This is hilarious. And honestly, there are people doing this specifically for their own attention seeking. You see it quite a lot in tourist heavy areas now, like big cities or popular locations, anything that's heavily associated with content creators. And I'm not defending that behavior either, okay? Because deliberately sabotaging someone's work for your little cheap laughs is immature as hell, especially when there's a client involved. Imagine paying for a shoot and some random bloke thinks he's hilarious because he photobombed your images for his own TikTok. Great. It's not harmless banter. You're interfering with somebody's paid work. So, yes, both things can be true simultaneously. However, some photographers are becoming territorial and, dare I say, arrogant in public spaces. And some members of the public are becoming intentionally disruptive because social media rewards that attention seeking behavior. I think there's an uncomfortable, unfriendly middle ground. I have my own example of this. In fact, I've got two. My friend is a content creator in terms of lifestyle, hair, makeup, other stuff. And she went to a place where I was photographing her, and she had to go do a thing to her camera off to one side. So she went part into this little area. There's a little bush, and it's got flowers on it, and it's like next to it is another bush with the same flowers, and it's further along. But she was at the edge, and it was really tucked away. She had maybe a meter square that she was working on, and this garden is huge, but anyway, so she's there filming, and this guy just randomly decides to walk up and start picking the flowers at the bush right behind her head, and she was like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Oh, I want these." You went, "Well, you can't pick those flowers." He went, "I don't care." And he was laughing and taking the mickey out of her. He did it deliberately. If he really wanted those flowers, there was so many more before he even got to her, but he deliberately did that. It made him feel big and whatever. She called me over and I walked over, "What's the problem?" "Oh, I can be here." "Yes, you can be here, but why did you choose deliberately to be here? Like, why are you reaching across her face to do that?" It's not like she's blocking the flowers, but you rather than go the most common way, you like he was deliberately trying to intimidate, and I just got my phone out and filmed him. I actually never posted it, but he scarfed it off, which proves that he was doing it to be annoying deliberately. Equally, I was doing a shoot, it was a proposal, and I said I'd get on to proposal soon. I was doing a shoot and the guy said, "Can you hide away?" Now, most of the time you can hide away. My thing is, if you're proposing in public, you cannot guarantee you're always gonna get that shot. We were in a public space, the guy was about to get on the knee, and an older couple walked in front of the lens and started looking at the flowers that I was hiding behind, and I basically couldn't get the shot quick. I couldn't get the shot with them in it because they were blocking. I moved, managed to get him on his knee, but, he was annoyed that, I'd had to quickly move. He'd spotted me, so it was fine. But what do you want me to do? I can't move the public on. They have as much right, if not more right, to be there because now I'm doing this commercial on a public space, and it changes it. We have to understand that we cannot interfere with what the public want to do, okay? If we want it to be free from that, we have to choose somewhere privately. That's just it. It's one of those things, and people, "Oh, people should be respectful." I know, but a lot of people genuinely don't see the camera. The whole point is I was hidden, so the potential, fiancé, because she wasn't over this point, whether she said yes or no, couldn't see me. So I was hidden. So what makes you think they could see me, right? So, yeah. I think public shaming is also making us look pretty bad. Now, and that's one of the issues for me personally, it's the public shaming, because I genuinely think photographers underestimate just how damaging this is causing the perception of photography. If someone deliberately harasses you, by all means, deal with it appropriately. But what I'm seeing more and more is photographers uploading strangers because they're mildly inconvenienced by them, and the comment section becomes horrible. People insulting appearances, mocking strangers, dogpiling on random members of the public, overwalking for a shot. I mean, honey, we're on digital. Okay, we can fire off another one. It's not like we're on film. I mean, if you're on film, I feel for you because I do shoot film still. But like, come on now, you know? I think we've also got to remember something really important here. We chose to bring cameras into public and we chose to film behind the scenes content. We chose to upload it. The stranger walking behind you did not choose to be content for thousands of people. And I think that's a power imbalance and it's one that matters, especially because photographers are now operating with some of the very large online audiences. it creates this perception that photographers could be entitled, self-important, aggressive, territorial, and obsessed with public validation. And that genuinely damages all of us because including photographers who aren't doing this, who are incredibly respectful. Yeah, I see it. I see it. And, I've seen it at venues I've worked at where photographers I've said this in many episodes, and we've done quite a rant on photographers' behavior, but it's coming up quite heavily in social media right now. So it's quite apt to talk about it. Um, where venues are becoming stricter with us because somebody's overstepped the mark or they've had a complaint. I want to bring in the professional conversation now because I think some photographers secretly expect the public to adapt to them instead of adapting to the environment they choose to shoot in. It's just unrealistic. Public photography is unpredictable and always has been. So if you know you're creating a larger production, plan accordingly. This means bring an assistant, scouting quieter locations, shooting at less busy times, using lenses differently, controlling angles better, getting permits, managing gear placement, or having someone to keep pathways clear and safe and respectfully. Because if you're bringing tripods, lights, cameras, and segments and filming, you're taking up a hell of a lot of space. And that's just the truth. I think some photographers genuinely forget how intimidating or disruptive that can be or look to the average person just going about the day, especially when creators start acting frustrated that the public is existing just there, like just being themselves, like, I'm out, I'm out. Hmm. I think the conversation is bigger than photography. It's about the modern creator culture in general. Everybody's filming, everyone's documenting, everyone's building content, everyone's chasing virality. And the line between creating content and turning public life into a stage is getting blurred. I think we now are seeing a backlash against that, not just towards photographers, influencers, streamers, bloggers, TikTok creators, everyone, because the public is exhausted by feeling like they might accidentally become someone else's content. And photographers are not immune from contributing to that frustration. Okay. I have seen that frustration with me. I was at the gym. There was a gym girly filming her workout and she got annoyed I was in her background. But I'm allowed to be in the gym. And she was like, "You need to stop so I can film this." "No, I'm doing this." She went, "Well, I don't want you in my background." "Well, I don't want to be in your video. So you wait." "Yeah, but I'm a content creator." "I don't care. You wait." There was a group of girls who were filming in the gym and they had 2 tripods out and I had to go pick up a dumbbell that I wanted and the dumbbells of a certain weight were in this area and I walked over and she said, "You've just walked through our shot." And I was like, I'm in the gym." I mean, I walked round, by the way. I didn't walk through there. But apparently I shouldn't have walked anywhere. And that explains to me now why everyone else was being made to work out. I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't see any signs up saying I couldn't be here." And I wasn't being a dick. I was being really like, "Hey, I didn't realize." She went, "There are no signs. I've just told you." And I was like, "Do you know what? Nah." So I deliberately sat there. I was like, "No, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. You've made everyone else move over there. And what I want to use is this machine that's only here. I can't drag that machine over there." And she goes, "Well, go do something else." I'm like, "Sorry, what? You didn't have a permit. You didn't have anything." And then it turned out they got bollocked because they shouldn't have been filming in the. But yeah, some people just don't understand how disruptive they are. Like genuinely, genuinely. I see people there's a great famous shot on the that everybody does it on looking at the House of Parliament. There's an archway that perfectly goes through the House of Parliament bit. And you can see everyone does it, engagement couples, everybody. And I was there with a friend and we are trying to get a picture on our social media, but because it's so popular, everyone goes there, you've got to wait your time. But people also walk past, and the amount of people getting really annoyed that people are walking past on a pathway because they wanted the perfect shot. I'm like, you don't get to have the perfect. If you want the perfect shot, get up early when there's very few people, or stay late. Like, don't assume you get access because you want access. Like, what is this? Another one is Covent Garden. Just outside Covent Garden, there's a lot of K-pop dancers that congregate and they do their dancing. They take up a lot of space, but there's 10 to 15 of them, and they're rehearsing, and they're really respectful, and they're just having their rehearsal space. And a lot of tourists stop and watch them. It's not a big deal. Every now and then, though, an idiot will walk in front of them, like to the point where between them and their camera's not far away, will walk right in front of them to the point where sometimes the front row will fall back to get away from them. That's how close. Like, what are you doing? Like, yes, they're taking up space, but everyone enjoys what they're doing for the most part. And that is a big empty space. It's not cramming anyone down because we're all enjoying it. It's a bit like busking. We were watching it. Like, what? What are you doing? Like, I see this so much, and I'm like, I get why you're annoyed, but to deliberately make it like this, to step into their space to make your point, like, go about your business. It obviously isn't that much of an issue to go about your business because you've had to deliberately get into their space. But I also acknowledge there is a large group of people dancing, so there's that. I think we have become too comfortable in being selfish with ourselves. Like, I'm shooting here, therefore the whole world needs to stop. And it isn't photographers all over, it's one or two, but they get a lot of traction, and that makes people think that they're like this. It causes some problems, and it's something I've covered quite a lot in this podcast. So for me, I don't know what the answer is, but maybe not assume you own everything, because at the end of the day, I don't think anyone should be ruining shots. But equally, photographers should not build brands around public visibility and then become frustrated when the public interacts with them. You do not own the street, the pavement, the park. And bringing more cameras, tripods, and BTS creators into a space that does not magically make everyone invisible. It doesn't. You can't just go, ping, I'm here, everyone go away. Professionalism isn't about camera skills anymore. It's about awareness, respect, planning, and adaptability, and understanding how your behavior affects the public's perception of photography as a whole. Because every viral, look at this idiot ruining my shot clip that might get you engagement, it also teaches the public to perhaps resent us as photographers. And honestly, I think that's quite concerning for photographers as we're seeing more and more crackdowns. But what do you think? Have you had shots enjoyed? What do you think of this content? I'm always curious about this content. Like, I wanted to mess it up and make a spoof on this, and I'm still tempted to do that because I want to prove out the hypocrisy of it. Like, rage bait is so people love it. They love it. They want to interact. They want to be outraged. They want to comment like, "Oh, douche." But some of the stuff just seems really unfair. Like, it's just not fair. There was one of a young couple, people were getting engaged somewhere like a London park, and they had beautiful flowers, and the photographer, like me, was hiding behind the flowers like I did. And this couple just stopped there, or no, they paused and then walked on. And the guy was like, "Oh, I can't believe they ruined the shot." You're getting engaged in a public space by a footpath. What do you think is gonna happen? Do you think people are gonna hover over you and to get around you? Like, oh, I thought people would automatically stop. The photographer has to be hidden, which means the fiance, whoever's getting engaged, can't see them, which means the general public can't see. What? Oh, this is my problem all over again. But equally, I've seen people stopping people on the street and getting annoyed. So, like, you don't own the pavement, but we also don't get to take up the entire pavement. But also, don't go out of your way to be a douche at the same time. Hold people accountable if they're taking up too much space, by all means. But don't try and deliberately intimidate them so that you get some clout. Like, there is like an adult way to behave about this, surely. Anyway, this has been the Loud Lens. I'm going to disappear. If you want any more of your episodes created, especially for you, any of these episodes, drop me a message and I can create one. But at the minute, a lot of them are about photographer behavior and how I view them on social media. So I would love just to have a little break from that because I feel like I'm dogpiling on photographers. Obviously, this is not all photographers, but it's definitely been one of those where it was, is wedding the lowest form of wit? Street photographers are behaving really badly. And now this one. Can we be nice? Ask me some nice questions and I will get them in. But as ever, this has been the Loud Lens. Take care of you, boo.